We're just fishing for drip leaves.
Are we actually going to warn Cube about our games this time, or are we just going to let him find out like all the other guests?
He's just going to find out like all the other guests.
Okay, cool.
That sounds exciting.
Oh, no. It's so far away. Oh, it's fine. Okay. He sorted out his own problems for once. That's great. Hang on. I'm going to choke. Give me a second.
You dying over there?
Only slowly.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Okay, we're fine now. I'm done dying. That'll never happen again.
Good job.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of I Jumped Out of My Chair. This is the Castworks podcast. Yep, this is normal. We're just going with it. I'm not restarting.
It sounds good to me.
This is fine.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
It is fine.
Today we have. I've actually been really looking forward to. I mean, I look forward to all of these, but I don't get enough time to talk with Cube like
Same.
I want to. So this is really exciting for me. I'm happy to have. Yeah. So we're happy to introduce a Cube prospector to the thing to the podcast.
And we're sleeping.
Yep. We told you high quality.
And in the water.
And in the water.
That's normal. That's
okay.
I can't get
So, Cube, you want to tell the viewers like where you might be known from, like your channel, what you're known for?
What am I known for? I guess the biggest thing I'm known for is probably redstone and my achromatic craft. And if you don't know what achromatic is, it's basically just the gray blocks in the game.
Yeah, I've followed along with. I'm not going to say all of that series because I know I've missed some episodes, but I've watched quite a lot of it, and it's amazing seeing the things that you've been able to do with just those gray blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly astonishing. I didn't realize there were that many options in the game.
Yeah, it's only recently been probably the last 2 years you could really get the full scale of it. I mean, you think until we got Deep Slate, it was a lot of mid-tone grays, and there wasn't a lot of deep colors except for maybe Blackstone. So yeah, we're finally getting to a point where you can do it.
Yeah, and it's been cool just watching that world evolve over time. And then it's interesting to see because now this season of Craftworks, you're building with so much color over there.
Yeah, had to go a little different this time around.
I found it very interesting. Like I'm honestly surprised you haven't logged in at random points and just found me just wandering your area looking at your builds. I think you're an incredible builder, and I find myself over there just looking at things periodically. So
oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I do the same thing because I'm flying back and forth between my base and spawn a lot, and since I get to fly over your place, every time I fly over, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a new build, and I have to land and go look at it because it's just so pretty. And they're all different styles too, which is really cool to see. So I have follow-up questions on that, but I interrupted Lane, so you can go.
No, that's pretty much it.
Just
Yeah.
Just sound of agreement.
I've really been trying on that area to really think about like what would a village actually be, and you think of how different people are and the different things they would build.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of been the inspiration is just what organically would a village feel like if it changed over time.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job over there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I feel
it's
like
been a fun one.
Good, I'm glad. Sorry. Can I interrupt now?
Yeah,
go for it.
Okay. I feel like one of the things that really confused me when I first started playing Minecraft and started watching other people play was the fact that they built in the same style for every single build. Like I was watching stuff like Empires and Hermitcraft at the time. And a lot of it is just stuff in the same theme, same color palette for pretty much every single build. Maybe one or two things are different, but it was odd that that's kind of just how people used to build a couple years ago. And I don't know if it's still the case. Honestly, I haven't been keeping up quite as well, but it's just so refreshing to watch you and other smaller YouTubers and Minecrafters not be afraid to experiment with other styles in the same build or in the same area or anything like that, because that's how it works in the real world, at least in the more interesting spots. If you're not like in a suburban area. Sorry, Goose. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of his base right now. So no salt there, but
Yeah, well, you bring up an interesting point, and I think a lot of what Minecraft used to be, especially for the people who had been around for a long time, is that you kind of used to look at blocks for what they were intended for. So a log was always a log, and a piece of copper was always copper. Where now I think a lot of people are starting to look at more of the texture and the color,
yeah.
and not worrying about what was that thing supposed to be, and more of what can it be.
Like in Junk Drawer, I used to do that a lot, and it was kind of nice that it was one of the very first series I ever did, because I never really looked at a block and was like, oh, copper, so I'm going to use this to make a metal thing. It was, ooh, terracotta. I'm going to combine that with mushroom block and build a computer. So that was a fun one.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that's where Minecraft has really evolved is even when you think of every new block they come up with, they think of what's the texture on each of the different sides and how could it be used. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, or how can it be ambiguous enough to be used for multiple different things?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think recently Good Times with Scar started putting empty bookshelves as the inside of his windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toad started doing that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's just so cool to think about that texture not being a bookshelf,
Yeah.
but being a window.
And people
Yeah.
started using like kelp blocks for the inside of windows to look like curtains. It's
Yep.
such a good idea.
For
Yeah,
me,
that's
what
cool.
clicked it was like at the beginning of the current season of Hermitcraft, the season 10, where Scar used auto crafters
Right?
as like a part of his train. Like I think like it's a wheel or something. I can't remember, but yeah, that's where it clicked for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun.
One of my favorite weird ways to use a block is to take bee boxes and use them as cupboards, because that's what Pearlescent Moon did when I first started watching Hermitcraft and Empires and stuff like that. And so I was like so inspired by that. I was like, any block could be anything else if you just
Oh yeah.
Could be,
put
yeah.
it in the right environment.
You give it context.
Yeah, I love those bee ones. They make perfect all sorts of stuff. Like you say, cupboards,
Yeah.
or I'll use them for shipping containers,
Yeah, as
Filing
crates.
cabinets.
Filing
filing
cabinets.
cabinets,
Yep.
crates. Yep.
And if
Yeah,
you turn them around the right way, good tabletops too.
Yeah.
Or a floor,
Or
or
a floor.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
so true.
I like doing the underside of barrels as a floor. It's a pain to place, but it looks pretty.
Yeah.
And there's extra storage.
Underside of a barrel. I don't know I've ever seen that before.
It just looks
Yeah.
like cooler planks, pretty much.
It's similar to spruce, but
But
it's
better.
not as I don't want to say like not as textured,
Not as
but
sprucey.
it's not as it's not as sprucey, I guess.
So that's an interesting question. Like, I know you're talking to me, but what do you guys think is the coolest block that like people don't think about for a floor
For
like that?
a floor specifically?
Well, or a decoration.
I know Zinc would
Ooh,
say
that's a
chiseled
tough one.
bookshelves.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't build in creative very often, so I usually just stick with whatever I have on hand.
Well, I recently designed the first part of the interior of the mega base, and well, I say I designed. Feather designed 90% of it. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there now. But the ceiling of it, the bottom of the smithing tables are the ceiling, and it's
Oh,
so
yeah?
cool.
I've seen that design.
And I love the color that goes with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using it as a floor too is cool because it's got like that
It is.
circular pattern in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, logs, like the top side of stripped logs, make for a really fun tile design. I did it in the concrete shop this time.
Yes, I was just over
yeah.
there today. I love that floor. I never would have thought putting mangrove and is it birch?
It is birch, yeah.
Yeah, I love that floor.
I actually used a kind of a similar design in Rhymes for the throne room. I did stripped logs, but I arranged them to look like roses as an inlaid floor design. And that's one of my favorites, I think. And I used bamboo to represent the leaves. So it's kind of like my little pixel flower design that I do as graffiti on walls, but in a floor
Yeah.
in a nicer environment. So that's one of my favorite ways to do floors.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I need to be better at floors. So many of mine are the stone and andesite and cobble floors.
It's either something really weird for me, a checkerboard pattern, or jungle. There's really no in between. It's one of those three pretty much every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you put so many decorations in the room, sometimes the floor just gets lost anyways.
Yeah.
That's true. But I've also in recent times kind of discovered how a different floor for different rooms can really bring out those individual rooms as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Since you
doing
can't-
like
Go ahead.
like doing like the black and white checkered floor for a kitchen.
Yeah.
And you know, like it makes it feel more like a kitchen, I guess. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's been fun experimenting.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting too. Well, floors are also a very powerful way to change the environment of a room because you can't change the walls
Yeah.
unless you like double layer, but then you'd have to do pretty much mega build mentality if
Yeah.
you're doubling up your walls.
Well, that kind of goes to what I really have tried to do with that achromatic is when you think about the color and the saturation and like how light or dark a color is, it can do so much for a room. So you go with the dark floor in a room versus a light floor versus something bright, like a bright yellow. It's going to have so much different meaning for that room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Goodness, we went all over into that topic, and I love it. No, that's great.
We did, yeah.
We're only one question in, guys.
Welcome to Talking to Cube. I can go on random tangents forever.
That's great. That's exactly what this podcast is for. Love it.
Well,
Good.
I want to ask. I want to go back just a little bit to season 1 for a minute.
Ooh.
Is season 1? All right. So Zinc kind of touched on this in his episodes, where he logged in and he looked over at Cube's place and he built out of dirt and was like, "How the heck do you make dirt look good?" and I feel like we all had that moment, right? But it wasn't just the fact that it was dirt. It was you were doing the dirt poor thing last season, but you were doing primarily just building in the brown aesthetic.
Yep.
What was that like?
I have questions
Well-
about this too.
The beauty of brown is it's very much the same as gray. So that's kind of why I went with it. Is it was familiar through my achromatic craft series. So one was gray, one was brown. And when you really think of all the browns, we have a lot of browns in Minecraft. So it wasn't that far of a stretch to think about I could just continue on building in brown.
I want to say that when I first started watching season 1, that was like the first thing that really caught my attention when I was watching like Empress Littlebit's first episodes and Lane's, because they were the main ones I was following at the time.
Yeah.
Whenever they mentioned like, "Oh, here's Cube's house. He made it out of dirt," and every time I saw it, I would just mouth open, just gaping like, "What is this SMP?" Specifically, just based off of that one build, I should mention. And the fact that you were rocking all leather armor for that entire season too. Okay, this does lead into another question though.
Okay.
How long have you been playing Cube? Because you're already, I don't think you're bored of the game, obviously, but you're already making up your own rules for it, obviously. So what got you into the game in the first place? What made you keep playing? And is there a reason you like to do your own like spin on things for that kind of your kind of gameplay?
Oh, yeah. I guess the origin story.
Yeah,
It's going to make me sound really old.
it's inevitable.
But I started
It's all good.
playing about 14 years ago. So I was
Hey.
over at my friend's house. And my friend was like, "Hey, have you seen this game that this indie guy is coming up with?" I was like, "Probably not." So he showed me, and it was the weirdest game with all these blocks, and there wasn't much in there. There were some rails, I think, maybe at the time. And he's like, "It's so cool. Like, I love what they're doing, going back to this like old school style." And I was like, "Yeah, it looks kind of lame. I don't know if I'm gonna do it." So
I think we all started that way.
so he ends up buying me a license at some point. And back then it was like $5,
Oh my gosh.
$10. It was so
Yep.
much cheaper than it is today. So I started playing it and instantly I was hooked because I've always kind of been like that Lego kid or the Lincoln Logs. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Lane was talking about that.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, I'm hooked. I built some of the worst things ever, but I was hooked because it was like, this is a digital thing that I can get a whole bunch of different types of blocks. It's not like your Lego set where you only get 12 red blocks.
Yeah.
You can go get 1,000 of them if you want. So that's really what hooked me on the game, and been playing for way too long.
Just like all the different things you could do, like unlimited resources, actually, especially if you're playing in creative. You can build literally anything you want.
Yeah,
and yet
exactly.
somehow we find a way to get bored of it.
Well, and I think the board is usually not knowing what's next. Because I don't think it's that people aren't creative or that I'm not creative. I think a lot of times it's like, okay, I've built, I don't know, 30 churches or 5 trading halls or so many of the same thing. And I think that's where a lot of kind of our server, we've gotten to like the copper hopper across the way from us.
Yeah.
Like, what is a copper hopper and why would you do it? Well, it's something fun, and it's a new type of build. It's not just another starter home, or it's not just another arena or something, right? It's trying to be something different. And I think that's where the creativity piece has to come in, is thinking about what could I do in a way that maybe hasn't been done before.
What can I do differently from what I've done in the past?
Yeah.
And that's something that I ask myself a lot as I'm designing builds or coming up with ideas and stuff. And a lot of that is why like my single player is kind of on a hiatus right now, is because I've done all of that. I've done the medieval thing for the entire time I've played Minecraft.
Yeah.
So the ideas are running low there, but it's why I'm always here in Craftworks, is because I'm doing something completely different.
Yeah. Well, and I've had people ask me before, why in the world do people watch YouTube videos of Minecraft? And I think it's because a lot of us have to go through that exposure period, right?
Yep.
Where we get into Minecraft and maybe, I mean, the gear's very geared to the medieval. Like you look at the lighting options, you look at a lot of what's in there. And so I do think it takes a lot of that kind of exposure and understanding what options are out there. Because to your point, all of us kind of go through this thing of, I haven't ever built something before. So you go through a building phase of a certain type or whatever before you say, okay, I'm done with that one. I'm ready to go on to the next adventure.
For me, I get these building phases where it's like, I want to build in this style that I've never built in before, and then I'm terrified, and then I overthink it, and then I place 2 blocks. I'm like, nope, it's ugly. I'm done. And Izzy can confirm this. The amount of times I've started something and sent like in our little group chat, just like something that I'm working on, and then it just never sees the light of day.
You finish most of them. Most of
Well,
the
a
time
lot
it's
of
just
them-
like, does this wall look okay? Should I change the block? And then you do it and it looks fine.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop me from overthinking. You
No,
know?
it doesn't.
But I find myself doing that a lot. And as of late, I've branched out of that. I mean, I've mentioned before, like, I've already got my season 3 idea planned, like theme wise, and what I plan on doing. And I'm facing that currently. Like, I don't know how to build in that theme, and I'm terrified, but I'm committed now. So
Oh gosh.
it's gonna happen. But learning how to do something different in Minecraft has been the most fun I've ever had in Minecraft.
Well, and you bring up an interesting topic there, is I think a lot of people get really hard on themselves that something looks bad. And in reality, in any creative profession, you're always going to do something bad. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like getting to a point where you say, okay, now I know that you cannot put purple with, I don't know, nether brick.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh,
Like you
gosh.
have to experience that.
I just pictured it. It tastes awful.
But that's I think that's the creative process. Like one of my next episodes that's going to come out, I built a whole building and I got to the end and realized it looked like a mallard duck with a beak.
What's wrong
And I
with
was like,
that?
this looks horrible. It was supposed to be a moss and sand shop.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can't do it. Like it's wrong, right? But I didn't take that out of my video because I knew that that's kind of how we work as Minecrafters, is you're going to sometimes do something, look back and be like, what was I thinking? But now I know that I'm never doing that type of roof with moss blocks again.
Yeah.
So it's a good
For
thing for us
me-
to learn.
For me, it's just I'm an overthinker and I'm a perfectionist, which doesn't help. So if I do something on the first try and it doesn't come out perfect, I get irritated.
Yeah.
and then it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going through that phase going back to school because this is technically like an art-based study, so there aren't really any main rules. It's all just experience. And one thing that our teachers really encourage is to take before and after pictures of everything you do. Not because you're going to like post them on social media or anything. It's just for you so you can look back and see, look how far I've come. Like this highlight that I did on this client was the best one I had done at that time. And now I'm 10 years into my career as a stylist, and the best highlight I've done now is like 100 times better than that one that I thought was just so good when I was still in school. So
Yep.
it's just all about perspective and experience level at the time. And
Yeah.
and you're
And
always
some
going
of the
to,
best.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's always going to be an ugly phase to art every single time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of people look at that as ugly, but it's not really ugly. It's about learning. And so I think as long as you keep that perspective, get a creative world and just go do ugly things because it's really learning. It's not that it's ugly, it's just knowledge.
Yeah.
Just place blocks and just try things.
Yeah.
What I found myself doing, like even if I'm not necessarily proud of a build in my, like I've got a creative test world that I work in, and 90% of my builds in that are completely unfinished and they're pretty ugly. But I can say that I've left each of them learning something different, whether it's about texturing or depth of a build or maybe a sight line or what have you. And it's, even if the build's not finished or it doesn't look great, I can say that I left learning something.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. To ask a question that you guys could
That's
have
all good.
possibly asked me is like, why do I do achromatic craft? And in reality, the reason I started achromatic craft was one of my friends was having a hard time with building. And I said, hey, just think about like contrast between blocks. And so kind of went in there and it's like, hey, what does two gray blocks next to each other look like? Well, it doesn't look like much. You can't see a contrast difference. And so that's really what achromatic craft was for me, was learning how to pair light colored blocks with medium colored blocks and dark colored blocks, and like all the differences you can do without thinking about the color of it.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
way of looking at that.
Mm-hmm. Depth of color.
Yep.
We
And
call
if
it
you
levels.
think, yeah, there you go. And if you really think about it, that's where most successful builds come from, is that they know how to use the depth and the values of the colors.
Color theory.
Yeah.
Yep.
We love it.
Goes a long way.
It does. Go check out the loosest of gooses.
Yeah, he goes through it really well. And
He
that's
does.
kind of what I've really been trying to do with my Village of Color over there is to now think about, okay, if I was to do this in my grayscale world, that color is a medium gray. What colors go in that range that I could now use?
I want to go into your origin story because we're 20 minutes in and we haven't learned it much about you. We're just out here talking about Minecraft blocks. Nobody wants to hear about Minecraft. We want to hear about you. So, Cube, how or why did you start your YouTube channel?
I don't know. I don't know.
That is the most honest answer we've gotten, and I love it.
I think there's people that say, hey, I'm going to go out there and try and make some money, or I'm going to go out there and provide the best content. I think really for me, like if I was completely honest, I think I just wanted to kind of document my journey. And it was less about trying to make any kind of money or try and get any views. It was like, hey, I've been playing this game for 12 or 13 years at that point. And like, I've done some cool stuff, but I have no clue what it looks like. I can't remember it because I don't have some of those old maps. I just have the memories. And so I think that's really kind of what started it for me, was I'm going to build some cool stuff. Let's do some videos so that I can look back and say, yeah, that was a fun build.
It's like home videos.
Exactly. Yep.
That's so
Home
cool.
build videos of my Minecraft. There you go.
Yeah. So were you watching any other Minecrafters at that time? Did you have an inspiration for starting it at all?
I was a big Minecraft and Hermitcraft,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
back in the day when both of them were getting started. And so I loved, and the aspect I love is they weren't there to make content originally. A lot of them were just there to have fun and be with friends. So yeah, a lot of that was, I think a lot of people have been doing it for a while. Those were kind of the ones you looked at.
Yeah. People call that like the golden age of Minecraft. I think, in my opinion, we're still in the golden age of Minecraft, but
100%.
yeah,
100%.
it's just evolving at this point.
Well, and yeah, Golden Age is a hard thing because where did it really take off was probably at that time, right? Because it was more exposure to the game. People could see it in a way that you'd never seen video games before. I mean, you could probably say it with a lot of games that YouTube kind of power rushed people to the game that normally you would have just had to wait for organic growth. And so, was that the time Minecraft's Golden Age? Maybe, but maybe it was just a time when a lot of people were being exposed to games through YouTube.
True. It's like that was the golden age of YouTube as well, so
Exactly.
it's just the golden
think-
age of the internet.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people also kind of realized, and maybe this is just me, but when I started really watching Minecraft YouTube, and especially from multiple perspectives of different YouTubers, I've always seen these Let's Plays of games in the past, like old PS2 games that I used to play, but those are all linear, right? Like you start this and then you get this end result. Where Minecraft, you don't get that. You start with this and then you create everything you do, and every world, everything you do is going to be different. And so everybody's Let's Plays are different. And so you're like, well, I wonder how this person would do it, or I wonder how this person would do it. And then you start really just looking at everything. And that's what drew me in, was knowing that I could watch somebody's Minecraft videos, whether it be another crafter nowadays or a hermit or whoever, and I can always expect something new that I've never seen before because the game is just designed that way.
Well, and you think of all the different ways. Like, I have a friend that only plays Bed Wars. And I'm like, how do you do that? That seems so boring to me because I love to build. And then I have another friend who loves Redstone. Like, you can't go through any door in his world without it being a redstone door. And that's impressive. Like, ugliest builds, but most amazing redstone. And I think that's a cool thing with kind of all of our different stories is if you look at the people across our server, we have a pretty cool variety of what people get out of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, what other video game can say that? One
Yeah,
of my
exactly.
Yeah. One of my hyper fixations at the moment is a game called Detroit Become Human. Don't look it up. It's not family friendly. But
I've seen it.
yeah, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure game. So the writers went and wrote like at least 100 different endings for this game. So I've watched several playthroughs of it, and there's different endings almost every single time and so many different outcomes you can get. But even then, it's a limited game. And Minecraft still blows it out of the water because Minecraft is infinite. And in that infinite world, you can still create other worlds. So
Yeah.
it's just, it's ridiculous how unique it is.
Yeah. Sandbox versus goal driven.
Right.
Yeah.
Or story driven.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me find us another question. I can't read very quickly. Okay. Tell us about your video editing style and maybe your build style as well. Is there a way you specifically sought out to learn how to do that, or did it just kind of come naturally to you?
Yeah. Video editing is an interesting thing I've explored with so many different types. And what's interesting is through my different series, I've tried to have a different style. So like for a while, I copied a lot of what Etho would do, where it was like, hey, welcome to another episode. I'm gonna, I don't know, blow up a building today. And that was like always
Right.
the intro, and then it was just talking through what you were doing, which I think is a lot of what my style still is. But with some of them, like before this season started, I think it was B00 had these little clips of like him doing something in third person,
Mm-hmm.
and then like all of a sudden he's just talking, and it's like you just are in there, and he's not welcoming you to the episode. And I was like, I love that. So now that's become kind of how I intro this series. And then for a while, I had a modded series. And there's this really cool YouTuber named Isabox who
Oh,
I
gosh.
loved the way she did some of her intros. So I actually tried to copy that for a bit with one of my series. So I think, yeah, I don't know that I have one style other than when I see something, I want to see, does that kind of style work for me?
Mm.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like I have witnessed like those different changes through your videos
Mm-hmm.
since we discovered your channel. Like, I mean, even before we initially invited you to Craft Work, watching your videos, like I feel like we've seen the evolution of your styles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I actually had someone make a comment on one of my videos from 2 years ago, and I couldn't remember what they were talking about. So I went back to watch that video, and I was like, oh man, this is so much different than what I do today. So yeah, it's interesting to watch that. And I think that's the fun thing about whether you have viewers or not. It's just fun to watch your own personal growth
Yep.
through doing videos.
It's fun to watch people become more confident in their videos too. Like I can definitely see that in the Lane style, especially.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
that's always. I can see it in a couple of the crafters too, just how much more energetic they are in introducing themselves in their videos and stuff like that, and showing off and telling us about their builds and stuff. It's such a cool thing to watch.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and there's that, but it's also the getting more comfortable with leaving in your mistakes
Yeah,
whenever you're doing it.
yeah, and
Like
I'm seeing this too,
uh,
Cube. Should we be concerned that the Dripleys haven't
I wasn't going to comment on it.
corrected themselves? I'm gonna comment on it. In fact, I'm gonna look at it. You guys keep talking.
But yeah, like I just feel like not just in the normal monologues, but it's in everything from like the little details of like every now and again you'll hear me mispronounce a word and then I'll just roll with it and be like, what did I just say? And then I'll just leave that in because it's the natural thing, you know?
Yeah.
And when you start embracing the naturalness, I feel like it really helps bring that confidence out a lot more. And that's what I've been doing. So I feel like it just even from episode 1 of this season to now, I'm different in some way, you know.
Yeah, well, and there's the concept of 10,000 hours. Like, if you're going to be an expert, get to 10,000 hours. And I don't think any of us are at 10,000 hours of recording, but I do think that's like, as you look across builds and stuff, like I'd even say my builds now are so much better than they were 2 years ago. And I think it's
just
that.
fixed it.
You're welcome.
It's not gonna go back up.
Nope. That is something though that Hermitcraft was trying to do, is figure a way to keep them down. We may have
found
just
it.
solved it.
It's lag.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, great. I'm so glad your editing style has developed the way it has.
Yeah, I guarantee it'll continue to change. I think that's hopefully where I'm at, is that I recognize what works and what doesn't. So we'll see.
So I personally loved the way you started this season with like the video game type of aesthetic to your videos, like where you were
Yeah.
talking to an NPC.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I know that had to have been a pain to edit, but I loved how that came out.
I actually need to question you on that because I'm going to use that method. I'm stealing that for one of my
Okay.
own series, so I have to talk to you about that now. Can you
Oh, good. Well,
come talk
yeah,
to me after class?
yeah, it's there's a lot of little cool tricks. So yeah, we'll talk.
Cool. Post-podcast interview.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole separate tutorial on how to
Members only.
do that.
Members
Yes.
only.
Next thing I want to ask you, is there any specific inspiration you take for building or editing or anything? How do you inspire yourself to do what you do and try new things?
Huh.
What's like your go-to source of inspiration? Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of a weird thing for me. So this is going to sound weird because in real life, I am a designer
Ooh.
by trait, but I'm not great at white paper design, meaning you have nothing, a blank state.
Ooh, yeah.
That's the hardest for me. So really, a lot of times inspiration, like if I say, I don't know, I want to do a sawmill, I'm gonna go out there and not just look for Minecraft sawmills, but like what did medieval ones look like? What do current day ones look like? What did they look like in Europe versus in China, for instance?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really where I get my inspiration is just historically, what do buildings look like? And then trying to maybe copy one of those.
So just taking inspiration from real life?
Yeah, real life. I mean, everything you're trying to build in Minecraft is probably done somewhere before in some kind of color palette.
I take
Except
that
maybe
challenge.
a copper hopper over there, but
Yeah. I've got a
Yep.
few things up my sleeves.
But even like I love like your junk drawer series because
Oh,
it's finding something in real life and saying, hey, how do I do a coffee maker? How do I do a
Ooh.
computer modder or
I haven't
something,
done
right?
a coffee
Like
maker yet.
there you go.
Season 2?
Or yeah, you could do a water cooler and like I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff in real life that now if you translate that into Minecraft, it's like that's a cool build. I would never have done a coffee maker.
yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I miss Junk Drawer. I'm ready for season 2. That would be fun.
I loved it. I loved all the different builds in there because yeah, it's trying
It's
to build
different.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Cube. This is one of our older Discord fan questions that we've kind of just added to our typical rotation. So
Ooh.
I'm just going to ask you outright. What is your favorite build that you've ever done, the one that you're most proud of? And what is one that you think reflects your personality the best?
Man, this is like picking your favorite friend or your favorite relative.
Well, you don't have to worry about the friend part. I'm sitting right here. We're good.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
mean, okay. Well,
So now favorite build, I've got my favorite friend picked out.
Yep.
now that we know it's doable.
You know, I hate to say it because it's like maybe recency bias, but I loved my factory that me and Impala did last season.
Oh, yeah.
That was such a good factory, man.
Yeah, it was so fun. And I think the reason I loved it is the complexity of the blocks we used. Like mud blocks are horrible, or dirt. Yeah, what are they called? Mud bricks
Yeah.
are the
Packed
worst
mud.
thing. Yeah, packed mud. There you go. Are the worst thing because you need mud and you need the wheat and you gotta have a farm for both of them, and there's just so much effort that went into it. And then I've never done anything that big that I can remember. And then being able to work with someone was really enjoyable because so much of my time's been just me. So I think that one was like, yeah, we're doing something cool. And how do we mix two people's styles together? And I think we did a pretty decent job of it.
I think so,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, you did. Honestly, I loved that factory you guys did. And I feel that working with somebody else on a build like a full build like that, because I mean, you know, E and I were base buddies last season, and that we could not be even any more different in build styles. Okay.
Yeah.
And like look at what she did on the top of my island and then what I did down below and then how we managed to bring those two things together.
Yep.
Like it was so fun. Like honestly, I feel like those builds were some of the most fun I've ever had in Minecraft.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times we get so worried about, is it going to fit with somebody else's? But in reality, a lot of times things go together. Like the juxtaposition of two different styles can actually tell a really cool story rather than just, hey, we built the exact same buildings together.
Yeah. Just call
Well,
it an
that's exactly
aesthetic and
it.
anything goes.
Yeah.
There you go.
As Feather says, a stylized choice.
Stylized choice.
There you go. Yep.
But yeah, I mean that's how we made it work. We had a story behind ours, and while E did lore and I did not do lore, there was still a story as to how our bases connected, and that's something that we discussed a lot off camera.
Yeah.
And in just having that, it pretty much figured out what the rest of our stuff was going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and what was cool is like at the beginning of that factory build, Impala came up with a banner, and that banner was going to be us claiming different land in different places, and it would kind of be a representation of everything that was ours. And what was kind of interesting is we didn't really use it too much after the first little bit until at the end we were trying to figure out what in the world do we put in the middle of this factory.
Yeah.
And it was like another machine, I don't know, some more dye. And I looked at the banner one day and I was like, that tree, we need to put that tree smack dab in the middle of our factory, which seems weird. But when you saw it in there, it was like, oh yeah, this is almost like a statue in the middle of this factory. And I think it turned out pretty cool.
It's so funny how, like, those weird little ideas that you come up with and you don't give yourself time to overthink, those are the ones that always pay off the best for some reason.
Yeah. Well, and it's a fun environment. Have some fun and do some weird stuff. It's all right.
Okay, well, I need to ask you this before I forget. Yay! Ring. Oh, sad.
Came and gone.
That's so sad. How did Q Prospector get his name? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, Q Prospector's actually only been my name for about 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Oh.
Because the original name I had was maybe a little too personal to do videos.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I decided to try something new. And I thought, all right, what's like, I don't know, I'm horrible at names. So I'm thinking, do I pick like some mythology god's name? Okay, all of those are gone. People already had that idea. Do I pick a sports player? Well, it's kind of weird if a sports player is playing Minecraft. All right, so Minecraft is mining and crafting blocks. What's another name for blocks?
Oh my word.
Cube. Okay, what am I doing?
What's
I'm
another
prospecting
name
for them.
mining? There you go.
I don't know it's real creative, but that's kind of how we got there.
I mean, I like it. It's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember commenting on someone's Twitch stream, and they're like, Cube Prospector. That's like a perfect name for a Minecrafter.
It is.
And I was like, okay, I feel validated. Someone felt it was good, so there
That's
we go.
Perfect. Yeah. Isabox actually came before I was a Minecrafter.
Oh,
So
yeah?
the box thing kind of just fit. Like, now I tell people, it's like, oh yeah, I go by Isabox online sometimes. So like, what do you play, Minecraft? I'm like, actually, yeah.
Actually, yeah.
It wasn't meant to be that, but yeah, it works perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Your skin, when I saw it, I was like, holy cow, that is amazing. Like, I never would have thought of creating something on my head
Oh yeah.
that isn't a face. So I love it.
Oh yeah. And I'm definitely not the first persona to put a cardboard box on their head and call it a character. So it's inspired by a few different people, but I like it.
Got to get inspiration from somewhere.
Yeah. And this way, if I change my hair color, people can't get mad at me for fan art. So works
There
out.
you go.
Yeah. Things you don't think about.
Yep. Exactly. Well, and some people have seen me in real life and then seen my character like, you don't look anything like your character. And I was like, nope. I want to be whatever my real life looks like. I don't have to worry about, does my character look like that?
Yep.
Let
Yep.
him be different.
It is nice.
The thing is, my character actually does resemble me,
Yeah.
except I have a mouth IRL.
I mean, most Minecraft characters don't have a mouth. Mouths are overrated. Also,
Yeah,
your forehead
exactly.
isn't quite as big as
It's not.
in-game. Yeah, not quite. Just a
It's
little
not.
smaller.
Yeah, just a little bit. Don't let Curtis hear that though.
No, he wouldn't believe me.
No, not at all.
Let's go ahead and get into some more fun questions, or what I think is fun.
Okay.
What was your dream job as a kid? And has it changed? Do you have a different kind of dream job now?
Oh, this is an interesting question. I've actually been thinking a lot about this because I recently just listened to your one about Millie.
Oh yeah.
I was like, if they ask me the same question, what am I going to say? So I'll answer it in two parts. What was my dream job as a kid? Is I always wanted to be an architect, which I guess works perfect with
Yeah,
Minecraft.
absolutely.
Because I always thought it was so cool to think about all the different styles and the different ways that you could make basically a square or a bunch of squares look different, and all the different types across the world. So for a long time, that was my dream job. Now, I think I have kind of a weird dream job, and this is probably not going to line up with what most people would say. But my dream job is actually to find a job that I could get paid $10 million in 1 year.
Oh gosh.
And the reason for that is I don't really dream of having a job. I dream of what I would do with my time. And so for me, I would love to be able to get enough money that I could retire, not have a job, and go do something like a nonprofit and be able to go help people without needing to take a paycheck. So that it was a true nonprofit, not I'm working and they're paying me a bunch of money to do this thing. Like, I just want to do it out of the goodness of my heart. So really being able to retire and work for a nonprofit without taking a paycheck would be my dream job.
That's so cool. You
That
put
is really cool. Yeah.
too much thought into that.
Well, it's there's been a couple different things that I've wanted to do, and I'm like, if I just had the money or if I just had an opportunity, I would love, like, there's so many different people out there that need either support or they need help. And like, I have a friend who is visually impaired, and I think about what does that individual go through when they're in school or when they're in different events, and what little things could we buy for that individual to make their life that much better? Is it a pair of VR or AR glasses so they could go watch a sporting event and actually be able to see it, because maybe they're only slightly, or not slightly, but like they're visually impaired but not blind.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just enough people that we could improve their lives with just a little bit of technology or just a little bit of money or just a little bit of moral support. And so I don't know. Maybe I think too much about that, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I think that's an
No,
important
I
thing
love
to
that.
think about. Yeah, that's really cool. Something we don't think about enough, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agreed.
And I think the one reason, like, I have latched onto that too, like when you talk about inspiration of like who helped you get into YouTube videos and stuff, like I've really been inspired by Scar's story, Good Times with
Oh, yeah.
Scar.
Yeah.
Because when you think about an individual who maybe can't work in a traditional, like he wanted to go work.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that happens every time on the podcast. This is a requirement now.
Couch potato.
I'm sorry. Continue.
But like Good Times with Scar wanted to go work for Disney. And he talks so much about all the different ways of like how Disney works and wanting to work there. And when you think about someone that now can't have their dream job, but can sit at a computer in a wheelchair and be able to entertain and build amazing, beautiful things, like that's kind of the beauty of technology, is being able to let some people upscale their lives in a way that maybe they wouldn't have, because we don't have to have traditional jobs anymore.
Yeah.
Kind
And I think it's, well,
Okay.
I was going to say, I think it's a little interesting because I also, I've watched Scar since I started watching Hermitcraft way back when. And I find it interesting to see that he didn't let that bring him down at all. And instead, like like you said, he can't go and get his dream job, but here he is inspiring millions of people.
Yep.
And now you got these millions of people that want this dream job that he's doing.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the kind of the cool world we live in. Like, so many people worry about the world we live in, but there's also this beautiful lining of you are now empowered to go and do something. Like, I don't know that Scar set out to be the inspiration he is to people, or to have, as you mentioned, this dream job, but just being able to follow some of his passions and what excites him. Now, a lot of people want to do that job.
Yeah.
He inspired Empress a little bit.
Oh, yeah? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
I don't know how much any of you know about Empress Little Bit's story, but she talks quite a bit about it and very openly on her channel. So if you want to go hear
Yeah.
about it, definitely go check out her videos. But yeah, it's a pretty
Yep.
cool story.
That's I think the fun thing about YouTube is, like, a lot of us have different viewers, and a lot of them come to us for different reasons. They can either relate to our styles, what we've gone through, it's fun to see where people get inspiration and what excites them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Here's another fun question. This one's very much a getting to know you question, so I kind of put this in here out of selfish intentions to get information from people.
Ooh.
But what other activities or hobbies do you have outside of Minecraft, Cube, other than working?
Oh man. So I used to be like a 3-sport person.
Ooh,
It
wow.
was always soccer, baseball, and basketball. Like that was all year round when I was in elementary, junior high, and then starting to be in high school. But then I destroyed my ankle when I was in high school, so couldn't really play a lot of those sports anymore. So what do you do when you can't play active ones? You start playing golf. So I've been an
You?
avid golfer for a long time.
Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
we're having a very intense sleeping battle here. Ha!
Oh.
The bed was too far.
Oh. Strategy. Sorry, this is one of the many games that we play during the podcast.
Yeah, because we can't stay focused.
Yeah. Anyway, golf. I'm sorry. Yes, golf is very interesting, very appropriate with the ankle injury.
Yeah, no, I've always enjoyed golf. I haven't played it in years. I would love to just play that randomly one day.
It's a sport, and therefore I'd be terrible at it. Did we lose him?
Cube.
Oh, sorry, I had to cough.
Oh, okay.
All good.
But I think that's kind of the fun thing with golf is like it almost doesn't matter how good you are. Like the idea is that you're going out there having fun. Yeah, there's professionals and there's a lot of really good players, but in reality, it's kind of like go out, just enjoy the day being out in the sun.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I really get why I enjoy it is, yeah, I'm inside all the time with work, probably inside when I'm playing video games. But outside of that, like get me in the sun for a couple hours a week.
I could work on that.
Well, I think it's hard. Like we're getting more and more in our lives that like staying inside is becoming easier and easier. Like people don't even have to go out if like they want fast food. You can even order it to your house these days. You don't even
Right.
have to go get on the bus or in your car to get it anymore.
I'm too cheap for that. I'm gonna drive.
So am I. I'm way too cheap. I can't look at those prices and be like, yeah, I'm gonna spend $50 for a Burger King.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My old job, people would DoorDash just cups, like drinks
Yeah.
from our
Oh, yeah.
location. They're already more expensive because it's our location. And now
Yep.
it's like twice the price because you've paid the delivery fee. All just
Exactly.
because you didn't want to spend the gas money or whatever.
And then they want a tip.
Yep.
Right?
And yeah. Yep.
It's ridiculous. Go outside, people. Save money.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, this is a fun one. This is from Empress Little Bit. But we've added it to our rotation.
Okay.
If you were famous for anything other than Minecraft Cube, what would it be?
Is this like a dream or
It can be dream. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because maybe the reality is I'd never get famous.
I mean,
It-
same.
What would I want to get famous for? Is
Yeah.
that a good way of saying it?
Yeah, that is a good way of saying it. I will change that later.
You know, it sounds weird, but I think I would want it to be probably for golf. I know it sounds weird, but one of the things that I've always appreciated, and this is, I know it goes across multiple sports, but I've always appreciated when someone that's famous like that gives back in some way. So whether that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, like paying for a basketball court to go into a local neighborhood, or I don't know, using your fame to brighten some kid's day. Like you see all the time, like basketball players will have different type of, I don't know what the right word is, but underprivileged people come down and like have that time where they might not normally get to experience certain things, like sitting on the front row of a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love that to be able to say, hey, you know, I'm going to be at this golf tournament. Why don't you come watch it, be part of this experience, and let people experience things that maybe they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I love seeing people do that sort of thing.
Yeah. One of my
Yeah.
favorite YouTubers to watch, and one of the very first YouTubers I ever watched, was a group called Dude Perfect. I don't
Yep.
know if either of you. Yeah.
Yep,
They're pretty
I know them.
cool. But
Yeah.
obviously I'm not a sports person, so pretty much the only reason I watch them is because I know they're of good character, and I love to watch them give back to their communities and their fans and everybody involved. They know their audience. and they know what they can do with the platform that they've created for themselves, and they do amazing things with it. It's really cool to watch, and yeah, I agree with you. That would be amazing. I'm gonna have to add that to my list.
Yeah, Famous
I
is
love seeing little things like that. Like when I went to that Creed concert back in November, like midway through the Creed set, Mark Tremonti, their guitarist, he called out a kid in the audience, an underprivileged kid as well, and just gave him one of his guitars.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think there's a difference between what famous means. And I think the famous that I think more people are latching onto is when you actually do something with the platform you're given,
Yeah.
instead of just saying it's all mine and I'm the best basketball player or I'm the best whatever, I'm the best musician. But actually, like, I don't know, a lot of people love Taylor Swift for kind of that reasons is they feel like they can associate with her, even though now she has billions of dollars and probably none of us associate
Right.
exactly. But that was kind of how she got there is that she made people feel viewed and seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that last step of being quote unquote famous that a lot of people miss, especially nowadays where it's so easy to like blow up on, well, it's not easy to blow up on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, but it's a lot easier than it was. And I think it's coming to people so quickly that they forget that last step of having that platform and that amount of power per se is giving back. And that's a step that people tend to skip really easily. And yeah, I think that needs to make a comeback.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that's why we appreciate the ones who do do it. Yeah.
All right, let's do one more quick one.
You keep saying a quick one, but for some reason I derail it into like these long conversations.
It's all good.
Well, that's what we're here for.
we could ask you the grilled cheese question, but we all know how that goes. In fact, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to make you wait a week to figure out what that means. Let's ask you the grilled cheese question. Cube, what is your favorite way to prepare a grilled cheese? That is now on our constant rotation. That we're asking everyone this.
Is there a right answer?
I don't think so.
According to
as long as
Zink,
there's grilled and cheese.
yeah, you can't be any worse than Zink. He made a ham sandwich, didn't even cook it, and just ate the block of cheese. So you can't get any worse than that.
Yeah.
And Millie's was pretty much the quintessential answer. So
I've always loved grilled cheeses. Like one of my early memories was we went to Yellowstone one year and we got to eat at one of the restaurants in there, and they cooked the best grilled cheese. But I was too young to actually know what it was. And so I've always like craved that. Well, it turns out I tried things like some kind of blend between cheddar cheese and like some other ones. Well, then one day I made just a Kraft American cheese with like, I don't know, some clarified butter or something. I was like, holy crap, that's all that was it was like the cheapest white bread with the grossest American cheese.
yep.
And I loved it. And
As
so
a kid, though, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. But I think too many times we try and over fancy things, and it turns out you just like the cheap version of something.
Yep.
Yep.
That's how I am with mac and cheese.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Just some good old Kraft.
Well, I'm getting a little fancier now. It's a different box kind. It's not
Ooh.
Kraft. But yeah. The box is beige. It's so you know it's healthy.
Yep,
Ooh.
exactly.
The matte packaging. That's another thing. Did you know you can tell a bag of chips is healthier for you if it's matte and not gloss?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's how packaging works nowadays. If it's shiny, it's either more expensive or less healthy for you. Same thing with hair products and other products like that. I'm getting off topic again.
Huh. Interesting.
Marketing is kind of, yeah, we've been talking a lot about it, so I need to.
Sounds like it. Yep.
Yeah, it's in my head. They're in my
Yeah,
head.
I could go way too much into packaging and how the different colors and stuff, because that's something we study a lot with my work is like the different case studies on why different companies will use horrible packaging versus really high-end looking packages and what they're
Yeah.
going for.
And like saving
How
on
to
money
suck you
with
in.
packaging and stuff like that. Apparently European packaging for stuff like toothpaste and hair color and stuff is different than in America. In America, they designed it so that you waste product, and I'm just a little bit peeved about it now that I know it's a thing. I can't unknow it. It's just
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of fascinating studies about packaging.
Yeah.
But this is not a packaging podcast. But we are out of time for the first episode. So I am very excited to jump into the crafters questions and to get to know Cube a little bit more. We're going to take a little break. For you guys, it's going to be a week. I'm so sorry, but we will see you then. And we will be back with Cube Prospector in just a little bit.
Bye.
Thanks all. I'm going to win. I'm winning.
I didn't even try.
You didn't. Sad.
I wasn't paying attention.